Chicago. Welcome back in to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Lots to get to on tonight's program. Baseball in November? Really? Yes. When you got a new manager in town, absolutely you got to discuss baseball. When that manager also happens to be one of the best in the business, you absolutely have to talk baseball in November. Counsel was introduced today as the new man in charge of the Chicago Cubs. We will talk about his press conference. Not to be left out, we've got some White Sox conversation on the other side of town as well, as a very forward-facing member of the team is just as surprisingly gone. We will talk about that. We've got some stuff going on from relative sports that are playing right now, though, too. Connor Bedard is getting hot, folks. The Hawks were down in Florida over the weekend, and Connor Bedard was looking sharp. We will talk about his weekend and the teams, what this means for the team moving forward. And, oh yeah, the Bears, too. They won on Thursday last week. We will talk about that and preview their upcoming game against the Detroit Lions. All that and more coming up right now on Chi-Town Weekly. Let's go. And once again, hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad that you are here with us tonight, whether you are live here on Spreaker on Monday night or you're listening on later on in the week. Thank you for being here. Lots to go through tonight. We're going to be talking a lot of baseball at the top of the show, but then we will move on to some hockey. We've got some football to talk about. And if we've got time, I want to, of course, get some college roundup in there as well. So lots to be getting to on tonight's episode. Let's dive right into it. Of course, before we go anywhere, we do need to acknowledge our sponsor here at the network, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on. All you have to do is go to planetjerky.net. They have free shipping nationwide on orders of $50 or more. And regardless of what your taste buds are, they've got something for you. Anything from the more savory side with the smoking barbecue, or they've got sweet pepper teriyaki, all the way up to the extreme Carolina Reaper and other flavors in between. I was a fan of the volcanic jalapeno in the bag that I got a little while ago. Just go to planetjerky.net to place your order. Again, free shipping on orders of $50 or more. Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Now, IE Sports Radio for the last 9.5 years has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com, for sports news, the IE Sports Radio blog, our Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month, pages dedicated to each of our shows, the IE Sports Radio Community Forum, and stop by the shop and check out the merchandise. Thank you for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Ways that you can interact with the show. This show is available for you on X. You can find it at IESRC. You can also find me on X. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live here on Monday night in Spreaker, hop on into the chat room. Taryn Rodriguez is already there. Good evening, Taryn. We're going to try and have an amazing show here tonight. You can hop into the chat and we can interact that way. Or if you want to sit back and listen, or you're listening on later on in the week, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Amazon, wherever you find the show, thank you for being here. That's the important part. Leave us a good review, will you please? Let your friends know. All right, so let's dive in. Let's get into this here. I want to start things off in the baseball world tonight. The Cubs, we talked last week about how the Cubs had pulled off a shocking move, and it was a week ago today that the Cubs shocked the Major League Baseball world, firing manager David Ross, who had been the manager of the club since 2020, had been hand-picked and hand-selected, groomed for the job ever since retiring from the 2016 World Series championship team, and taking over in his place was former Brewers manager Craig Counsel. Counsel was introduced today at a press conference at Wrigley Field, and he says they're close. That's part of what drew him to the team, is that they are close. He later said, when fans hear close, that means one thing different than what teams usually mean. For a fan, close is, tomorrow. But he feels that the Cubs are very close to being on the brink of something very special here. Really liked the way that Jed Hoyer has constructed the team with a good mix of veterans, but also a very, very healthy minor league pipeline. Guys like Pete Crow Armstrong, who got a taste of the majors at the end of last season. We'll see if he stays in the majors or goes back down to the minors. But Counsel very impressed with what he saw from the team. Very impressive in his introductory press conference as well. Seems like a very down-to-earth guy. He was asked at one point, why he was so successful as a manager, and he said, with all due respect and fairness to the question, he wasn't really sure what made him so special as a manager. But he talked about his response, how he feels his responsibilities as a manager are to get to know his players, to relate with them, to be comfortable with them, to get everybody around him to be comfortable, to do their jobs, including himself. That's one of his jobs, is he needs to be simply comfortable just being himself, that when you're faced with choices like that day in and day out, and then have to face the scrutiny of the media and the fans and the team after every game, that you have to be able to be yourself and be comfortable doing that. One of the big elephant in the... Good evening, Marcus Los. Great. Salute. Hello to you, sir. Thanks for hopping in and being here for a little bit. One of the obviously difficult questions that he was asked and had to talk about was the relationship with David Ross. That obviously the only that he said the Cubs weren't even on his radar at first when he became a free agent manager, because the Cubs, of course, already had themselves a manager in David Ross. And so he was very surprised when Hoyer reached out to him just to kind of put out a feeler and see how the two of them would do working together. They wound up meeting at Jed Hoyer's house. And he said that David Ross, actually, before the news even was official that Counsel was taking over, Ross reached out to Counsel, and Counsel immediately called him back, and the two of them had a great conversation about the Cubs. And Counsel came away very impressed by David Ross from that, said he has all the respect in the world for David Ross as a result of that conversation, that since both Counsel and Ross have been through the MLB as players, they understand the cutthroat nature of the business, and Ross was very gracious in reaching out. And the two of them had an excellent conversation, really good interaction back and forth about them, about the organization, and there are no hard feelings or bad blood then between the two of them. This really just feels, it's very reminiscent. Good evening, Drewski. How are you, sir? I'm trying to have a good show. Starting off, I know Drewski's excited because, he gets to talk about the world champions when he gets to talk baseball on his show. The Texas Rangers winning the World Series. We're wondering if maybe the Cubs aren't too far away from where the Rangers are right now. And Craig, one of the things with this move, it reminds me, it feels very reminiscent to when the Cubs hired Joe Madden 9-10 years ago when that occurred. And you just felt like this is getting real. This rebuild, this retool, whatever you want to call it, this is absolutely kicking into overdrive now. They're getting very serious about this. And they're getting ready to do something big on the north side is really what it feels. And it feels like this, obviously this can't be the only move they make of the offseason, even though they did just make Counsel the highest paid manager in MLB history. This can't be the only move they make. Rumors swirling around, of course. All the big name free agents then, of course, you're hearing getting linked to the Cubs. Cody Bellinger, might he come back to the Cubs now? Reportedly, according to CBS Sports, the Yankees are also in the mix for his services. I've also seen Shohei Ohtani get linked now to the Cubs. That with this signing, that why not go out and get a guy like Shohei? The Cubs may not necessarily be the front runners for Shohei Ohtani, but they should certainly be in the running. It shouldn't be a surprise if that's where Shohei Ohtani goes. Drew's asking what moves I would prefer for the Cubs. You can never have enough pitching. You can never have enough starting pitching. And especially the Cubs just had one of their starters just opted out of his deal. Marcus Stroman opted out last weekend with the Cubs. That doesn't mean the Cubs couldn't look at re-signing him, but he's going to be looking for a bigger payday than what he was in line to get already from the Cubs, north of $20 million. The Cubs need pitching depth. You've got to have starters in that rotation. Justin Steele was terrific last year. Kyle Hendricks, the professor, is still he's no longer as, feels a little weird to use dominant when you describe a guy like Hendricks. He's no longer just the guy where you put him out there and you know that more often than not you're going to get the win. I don't think he's that anymore, but he's still a solid middle to back end of the rotation starting piece for the Cubs, but you need starting pitching. You need some starting pitching. Their bullpen got very tired at the end of last season too. So pitching all the way through, I'd love to see them add pitching. The other thing that I think is the biggest piece otherwise is they need a quarter infielder. They need a bat that either first base or third base. You know, they made the move at the trade deadline to add, and they got Candelario there at the end of the regular season. But you're gonna need more than that. You know, you're gonna need to get. You can't have Patrick Wisdom starting a bunch of games for you at first or third this year. You can't have Miles Mastrobuoni being, you know, one of your biggest pieces. Now, if Matt Mervis can come up and be what he's supposed to be for you, then we're talking. Then we're talking. You know, that's really going to help. That would help in a huge way. But the biggest thing to me is, of course, you got to get pitching. You always need to have pitching. I don't care how good you are. You need pitching. But corner infield help as well. You've got to get some more pop. You've got to get some more pop in that lineup. Get some heavier hitters in there. Get some power in there. And corner infield's the best spot to do that, especially because you're not going to be benching Dansby Swanson or Nico Horner anytime soon. You know, those guys deserve to play every single day. So that's what I'm hoping to see from the Cubs. Maybe one of the ways that they could get some of that pitching help is from over on the south side. The White Sox, Chris Getz talked last week at the GM meetings and made it be known that everybody on that roster, with the exception of Luis Robert, everybody's up for trade. And that includes Dylan Cease, the ace of the White Sox staff, as we're going to continue talking baseball for a little bit here, but I want to flip over to the other side of town here for a little bit. Dylan Cease would be on the market from the White Sox, as the White Sox are looking to reset a little bit here. That would be a terrific ad for the Cubs. You know, they've shown a willingness to make some moves there. So moving Cease from the south side to the north side would be a huge win for the Cubs. He was originally in the Cubs minor league system, was part of the deal that sent in 2017, and now I'm going to blank on the pitcher's name. Yep, I'm going to blank on it. But Dylan Cease was originally part of the Cubs organization, so a return there would be great. But now we talk about the White Sox for a little bit. The White Sox are on the totally other end of the spectrum. While the Cubs are bringing in possibly the best manager in the game, the White Sox are saying goodbye to one of the best people in their organization and one of the best guys at his job probably in all of baseball, and that's television play-by-play man Jason Benetti. On the one hand, it's easy to look at it and say, well, what's the big deal? You know, it's a play-by-play guy. Well, play-by-play in baseball is so different than all the other sports. Because baseball, you're out there every single day. You get to know those guys. The television play-by-play and color men are the entryway into the team. They're the voices by which you get to learn and know about the organization. And Jason Benetti is a world-class broadcaster. More so than that, he's Chicago born and bred. Raised on the South Side. Studied in Chicago. Interned in Chicago. Grew up a White Sox fan. Being the television voice of the White Sox was his dream job, and he left it. And he left it to go do the same thing for the Detroit Tigers. So he left it for a lateral move. If that doesn't tell you how things are going with the White Sox, that right there tells you all you need to know about how backwards and bad things are getting with the White Sox right now. That they had somebody in the organization who was the best in the business, and they let him walk. And I don't care if that's a first baseman, a shortstop, a ticket salesman, an usher in the stadium, a general manager. It doesn't matter what the role is. There's never a time where allowing the best in the business to walk away from your organization and it helps you. It never does. So this is unfortunately another sign of the White Sox just not being in touch with who they are and what they are. Mikey Two Guns, how you doing? How you doing, Mikey? He's asking if Yoan Moncada is done with the White Sox. I hope so. And the White Sox, you want to talk about unforced errors. New general manager Chris Getz last week at the general manager meetings in Arizona went on record saying that he doesn't like the team. He likes the individual players, but he doesn't like the team. I get it. You lost 101 games last year, but Chris Getz, you're part of what built that team. Yes, you're new to the job of general manager, but you were promoted from within. If you don't like the team, that's your own damn fault. You didn't develop the guys properly. You know, you were in charge of player development at the minor league level, and you didn't develop them. You didn't turn them into something that's viable. So the White Sox they've said goodbye to Tim Anderson. They declined his option. They've said their goodbyes. And that is correct to do, because he was arguably the worst everyday player in baseball a year ago. They've announced that the general manager has gone on record and said he doesn't like the team. They've also gone on record and said that everybody is up for trade, with the exception of Luis Robert. That's the only guy they're not willing to move on. It's just, the White Sox are as as close as it feels like the Cubs are, that's as far away as the White Sox are at this point. And they are going to be having an equally fascinating offseason, though it's going to be probably for totally different reasons. As we see who the Cubs are aggressively going after, it'll be interesting to see just what the White Sox can get for their ragtag, patchwork, ultimately utter failure of a roster that Chris Getz et al. Worked together to put together. So it'll be a very interesting offseason for sure in Chicago in the baseball world. The hot stove is definitely going to be cooking. We're going to take a break, but speaking of cooking, we're going to switch over to hockey for a little bit. Watch out, y'all. Connor Bedard is figuring out the NHL, and it's scary good. We will talk about that plus more on the other side of this break. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
Era.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Larry B. hopping into the chat. Duh, Bears. We will be getting into them a little bit later on in the show. Of course, you can't have a show during football season without talking about duh, Bears. So we will be getting there. Not quite yet, though. Before we get into the beloved, we got to talk some hockey. For those who don't know, I am also the co-host of our hockey show, The Neutral Zone, Tuesday nights, right here, Spreaker, at 8 o'clock Central Time instead of 7 o'clock. But my good buddy Zach and I, we host that. We have a lot of fun. Even if you know absolutely nothing about hockey other than it involves being on the ice and skates, and that's as far as it goes. We have a lot of fun on the show. We try to make it as accessible to new people to the sport as much as for people who have been watching it for 10, 15, 20 years. We have a lot of fun there. The Blackhawks, yes, if you just look at the standings, yeah, they're in the bottom of the Central Division. They're 5-8-0, only 10 points in 13 games this season. Yes, they're not going to be making much noise this season. But Connor Bedard is starting to figure this out. This thing called the NHL. He's starting to get a little comfy playing here. The Blackhawks spent the weekend down in Florida, like a lot of Chicagoans are getting ready to do. Now that we're getting into the fall and into the winter, I know there's a lot of people from the Midwest who are getting ready to take the Great Migration to the Sunshine State. The Blackhawks spent their weekend down in Florida. First they were in Tampa Bay, and then they were in Sunshine, Florida, or Miami for the rest of us, taking on first the Tampa Bay Lightning and then the Florida Panthers. Not an easy weekend for sure. The Lightning have been one of the stalwarts in the NHL for the last decade, really. And the last time the Hawks won a cup, Tampa Bay was the opponent. Tampa Bay has appeared in the Stanley Cup Finals multiple times since then, has won the cup multiple times. they are absolutely a legitimate team. And the Florida Panthers are simply the reigning Eastern Conference champions. Not an easy weekend. The Hawks wound up splitting it. Took 2 points in 2 games. Beat the Lightning 5-3 on Saturday, and then followed that up Sunday afternoon. Lost to the Panthers 4-3. But as Charlie Realmutis of NBC Sports Chicago so deftly put it, the Hawks didn't have any business being in that game Sunday afternoon, but they only lost by 1. And it was tied going into the third period at 3 apiece. Thanks to the 18-year-old Connor Bedard. Head coach Luke Richardson gets the understatement quote of the year when talking about Bedard, specifically against the Panthers, but this would be applicable for the weekend too. Quote, "He was good." Yeah, I'll say he was good. 6 points, including 4 goals across the 2 games, 2 assists, and each of the goals was just a thing of beauty over the weekend. The highlight, the one for the highlight reel against the Panthers was where he stole the puck down at the base of the crease, the goal line, and with the goalie down, committed to, I am taking away the low shot from you because your butt is to me, your back is to me. You don't have time to turn around and get what you want on this. So this puck is coming in low. I am going to protect it. You don't have the angle. Bedard said, fine. You're going to take away the low angle? I'll go up high. Never mind that this is going to be a wrister from behind me. Roofed the shot in with the thinnest of angles over top of Bobrovsky. One of the things that they talked about with Bedard, of course, they talked about his skating, they talked about his shooting, they talked about his vision. But one of the things I didn't hear a lot about from him as they were going through the draft process and the scouting and et cetera, was his forechecking, his willingness to play defense. And a real quick definition for forecheck, what the heck is that, Adam? What are you talking about? A gross oversimplification. Forechecking is when you're in your offensive zone, you're in where you're trying to shoot the puck, but your team doesn't have the puck, so you're going up to body up against guys and try to take the puck back. That's a gross oversimplification, but in essence, that is forechecking. And that's not something you think about when you're thinking about an 18-year-old kid going up against guys in their 30s who are bigger and obviously more experienced than him. You're not thinking, oh, that's somebody who's just going to muscle the puck away from somebody. And sure enough, Bedard shows that he's adept at that too. The 6 points he had over the weekend gives him 9 points, including 7 goals in his last 6 games after he had a grand total of just 4 points in the first 7. The 9 goals in 13, he's the fastest rookie to 9 goals in franchise history. He's needed just 13 games. The most goals any rookie had in franchise history after 13 games before that was 7. And he just continues to impress in every stretch of the game. And he says he's getting more comfortable, quote, not saying get more points than I did the last game, but just feel more comfortable and feel I can make more plays. But I think that just comes with time. I'm trying to get more comfortable. There's been games, maybe I could have had a couple points and it didn't go, but obviously it's nice to get on the score sheet. He is another one that he had over the weekend where it was just you can't ever relax with him on the ice was against Tampa Bay. The Lightning were attempting to clear the zone. They actually succeeded in clearing their zone, getting the puck out to center ice. Bedard was racing back into the defensive end, was able to get to the puck, and again, warping his stick backwards, dropped a beautiful pass to Nick Foligno. He then was able to turn back around, and it created a 2-on-1 situation against the Lightning. And the goalie then is going, oh, crap, I'm not supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be playing on the other end, guys. Come on. Foligno then set him up with just a beautiful pass over the middle. And Bedard, again with a backhand, just muscles it in, played some pinball, bounced the puck off of the goalie's pad, off of the defender's skate, and into the net. And just sheer will and determination and extreme stick handling ability. Those of you who've listened to the show for the few years I've been on now, first of all, thank you. Second of all, you know that when I talk hockey, one of my favorite guys that I've gotten to see and watch play hockey is Patrick Kane. He was one of the guys that got me into hockey in the first place. Those 15 years ago now. Suddenly I feel very old. The 15 years ago when I was in college getting into hockey, Patrick Kane was just so much fun to watch. Watching the smoothness on the ice and the grace and the just, I'm going to make you look silly. With the, you're going to play defense, but I don't care. I'm going to be able to do something with the stick and get around you with the puck. That stick handling, we're seeing that. Plus, I think a little bit more already from Bedard. Just some things that I don't remember Kane making some of these moves. It's insanely exciting to watch, and just, oh my goodness. It's still not going to amount to anything this season for the Hawks, but if they can build some stuff around him, man, they have got something special that's going to be there for hopefully 15 to 20 years down the road. Drewski getting us back to baseball for a second. Yeah, the Cubs will be opening the 2024 season against the Texas Rangers in Arlington. So the Cubs will be on the flip side of the banner raising ceremony there. So that'll be fun to watch. Some interleague baseball to start off the 2024 season in that Globe Life Park down there in Texas, one of the new parks. That will be fun come this March. All right, we're going to take one more break, and then we're going to talk some football. I promise we're going to talk some football before we get out of here. This is always one of those strange weeks when when the Bears were on the Thursday before, so we've had the game it's been 4 days already since the game, so it's not the most fresh of topics to discuss. But I promise we will talk football. We will do that on the other side of this break. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this. Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. Presented to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Jerky that's on a whole other planet. Just a few more minutes left in the show here tonight before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez of Set Point to be talking all things volleyball, including the Loyola volleyball program. They just released their schedule upcoming, so I know he's got some stuff to go over locally there tonight. Real quick before we dive into the Bears, I do want to do a fast version of college roundup for football from over the weekend, starting in the Big Ten. Illinois 48-45 in overtime over Indiana. A big one there. Probably even bigger, though. The Northwestern Wildcats absolutely took it to the Wisconsin Badgers, 24-10. My goodness, what in the world is wrong with the Badgers? Oh, great win, though, for Northwestern. That puts, believe it or not, Northwestern and Illinois are currently tied for second place in the Big Ten West. 5-5 overall and 3-4 in the conference. Illinois got Iowa this weekend, though. That will probably cool the Illini off a little bit. Northwestern, on the other hand, then this weekend will be taking on Purdue. So good opportunity there for Northwestern to keep on their winning ways. Over in the MAC last week, Northern Illinois fell to Ball State 20-17 on Tuesday night. So some Tuesday night MACtion. The MAC always plays on Tuesdays and Wednesdays now, so it's always weird to keep up with that. Tomorrow night, Northern Illinois will be taking on Western Michigan. Both teams 4-6 overall. Getting into that one, and Northern Illinois 3-3 in the conference, same as Western Michigan. Everybody trailing Toledo in the Mid-American West, and then Miami of Ohio in the Mid-American East. Over down in the 1AA, down in the Valley Football Conference, Illinois State 44-7 over Murray State. Outstanding stuff there. It wasn't so great for the rest of Illinois, though. Southern Illinois fell to North Dakota State 34-10, and Western Illinois had its best chance to get a win, taking on fellow winless Indiana State, and it was not pretty. Indiana State 27, Western Illinois 6. Woof. Not good for the Leathernecks. So an abridged, quick version there of NCAA Roundup. Taryn asking, is first place Penn State in the Big Ten? No, the Big Ten, as far as Illinois and Northwestern are concerned, first place is Iowa. Iowa's sitting right now at 8-2 overall and 5-2 in the conference. Penn State is over in the East, and they are in third behind Ohio State and Michigan. So the West in the Big Ten is definitely the weaker of the two sides. So want to talk a little bit of Bears, a little bit real quick here before we get out of here tonight and turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez. First of all, good job. You beat literally the worst team in the NFL against the Panthers. That's bare minimum. You had to win that game. They did. Bagent was fine. Tyson Bagent was absolutely fine. He was not great. He was downright awful in the first half. He came out in the second half and did fine. I don't need to see any more of Tyson Bagent for the rest of this season. Get Fields back out there. Eberflus said today that the team still is not ready, that Fields has not yet been medically cleared at this point. At this point, it's feeling like they're just playing a game, that they're just trying to play gamesmanship at this point with everybody and try to hide their real intentions. Fields did practice. Some great pictures from Nicholas Moreno, one of the Bears beat reporters, had some excellent pictures of Fields out there in practice today as the Bears are getting ready to take on the upstart Detroit Lions. The Lions are 7-2, way out in first place in the division, and they're looking great. I hate to say it. They're averaging just under 27 points a game. They can throw the ball well. They can run the ball well. Our old buddy David Montgomery, even with a few injuries that he's been dealing with, he's only played in 6 games this season out of the team's 9. He's got 500 yards rushing on the season. He's got 7 touchdowns already on the year. He's having a terrific season. Jahmyr Gibbs is also playing really well. Their rookie running back. They've got a nice tandem working there. But I mean, between the two of them, they've been able to split carries almost 50-50 to this point. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just tearing it up. 821 yards and 4 touchdowns already on the season. Sam Laporta is also doing very well. The tight end in the tight end spot. Their young tight end. They're coming off of a big win out in Los Angeles against the Chargers. You know, remember what the Chargers just did to the Bears a couple weeks ago in national television? Yeah, the Lions went out there and beat them 41-38, a walk-off field goal, one of 5 walk-offs yesterday in the NFL. That offensive line, that offensive line is strong, to say the least. The Bears have their hands full going into this one on Sunday. This is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough... Taryn's getting mad at me in the chat room. Well, the Bears are playing the Lions next, so that's their next opponent. So we got to preview this a little bit. This is a tough one to come back to. This is a tough one to come back to. I mean, if you're the Bears, if you can get past that, you can get past that defensive line. There's still, you can attack this back 7 still. You know, they're giving up over 22 points a game. You can, where they've really been tough is on third down. They're less than 35% allowed on third down. That'll win you football games, I'll tell you what. They're tough against the run. They do give up yards in the air. You know, if you can get to that back 7 a little bit, there's points to be scored, but the Lions want to get it into a track meet, and I don't know that the Bears are ready for that. It's certainly going to be interesting on Sunday in Ford Field. But ultimately, I'm hoping that it's Justin that we see in that game, because I am ready. I'm ready for Tyson Bagent to go back to being the backup quarterback. That's what he's ready for at this point. I've seen enough. I've seen enough from Bagent for right now. I'm not saying that the story isn't amazing. I'm not saying that there might not be something there to develop. But I think he is shown to be an excellent NFL backup. And a backup is what he needs to be. We need to go back to fields for the remainder of this season. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Once again, big shout out and thank you to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. You can find them at planetjerky.net. Free shipping on orders of $50 or more all across the U.S. Thank you to Larry B. All the hard work that you do at the station, sir, keeping everybody in line and knowing what's going on. Thank you to lots of people in the chat room here tonight. Marcus Los Great, Taryn Rodriguez, Drewski, Mikey Two Guns, Larry B. Thank you all, gentlemen, for hanging out with us here in the chat room tonight. Finally, thank you for being here and listening. Again, whether it was live here on Monday night or whether it was later on as a podcast, I really do appreciate you being here and making this part of your sports week. Next week we'll be back here, same time, same station. 2 weeks from tonight, we will see the Bears right now are slated to play on Monday night, 2 weeks from tonight. They might flex that on the Sunday, though, so we'll keep that in mind. Coming up next, Taryn Rodriguez is Set Point, breaking down everything happening in the volleyball world. You do not want to miss that. For IE Sports Radio and Chi-Town Weekly, I am Adam Karnick. Everybody have an outstanding week. We will see you next time. Be safe, be healthy, bear down.